for this business, we're always constantly coming up with new product ideas. If we want to grow, there's only so much money we can advertise for polo shirts. So we knew we had to come up with a new product. We came up with this blazer, which is an awesome travel blazer. You can ball it up into a ball and pull it out, and there's no wrinkles. It's killer. It's got stretch, got some cool features in there. So we knew we have to pivot a little bit and come up with new products.
Welcome to the Leadership Loading Podcast. I'm Jason McClaren.
I'm Justin Baer.
Hey, Justin, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me. Big fan.
So Justin is the CEO, founder of Collars & Co. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But Justin, tell us, what have you done before Collars & Co.?
So before this, honestly, always been an entrepreneur ever since I'm a kid, always coming up with ideas. I grew up in this house where we didn't get Sports Illustrated. We got the Wall Street Journal. It's just like a part of the family culture of business. And I just took to it. I took to it. It was just an interest, and always had business ideas in high school and in college. I had another business idea called the Cure Card. It was a consumer loyalty discount card that I kind of came up with, and ended up raising $2 million for Evelyn Lauder's Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And then I graduated school, worked for a small kind of private equity group in Maryland, and then moved back to New York and started another idea, which was a calendar of nonprofit events. My friends and I were going to a lot of nonprofit, like young professional events. It was great because it was like open bar. Instead of going to a regular bar, let's just give $50 to, a charity, and then you get like an open bar. And so we're like, this is really fun. Why don't we do this all the time? And there's no like master calendar. So I came up with called Charity Happenings, and it was a master calendar of all events. And then I reached out to every charity in the country, and I said, hey, put your events on this calendar. People want to go to your stuff. Plus, you can use it as a way so that the Breast Cancer Foundation doesn't put their gala on the same day as the Komen Foundation. So I would use it. Anyway, so that was running. It wasn't like making enough money. It was kind of like a newsletter model. And then from that, people did ask me, this is actually a pretty cool story. They were asking me, hey, can you do like event ticketing? Who should we use event ticketing for? I'm like, you know what? There was Eventbrite at the time. I'm like, why don't we just like clone Eventbrite's site and then sell Eventbrite, but just for these nonprofits? And I already know who they are, and they're already posting. So I had a company in India. I just looked up online, hey, can you build this kind of web app for me? And they built it. And then we started getting, nonprofit events using us and, making a little margin on each ticket. Then somebody said, well, we want to do iPad check-in. I was like, what do you mean iPad? They're like, yeah, we don't want to have printed out Excel files anymore and crossing your name off. We want you to just do iPad check-in. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to create iPad check-in, but instead of like Eventbrite just made iPad check-in just for their events only, I'm like, I'm going to open this up to anybody, because I know there's a lot of events out there where they just have a spreadsheet, and they didn't use Eventbrite. They didn't use any of these systems. They want to just check people in digitally on their iPad. This is right when the iPad 2 came out. This is pretty early on. And I was kind of dragging my feet on this idea. I was working part-time, and then this is actually kind of great advice and I said this, I was at my kid's school recently, that you just never know where your connections lead to, and just being nice to everybody and building relationships no matter where you are in your career, because it could help you down the road. So the story goes, I was kind of dragging my feet on this iPad check-in concept. And then I get a call from this event planner, and he says, hey, Justin, I know you're in events. Do you know anybody that's doing iPad check-in? I was like, actually, we're working on it. It's a new thing. I'm kind of close to having it. I'm like, what do you need it for? He says, well, I've got a big client that has a big holiday party and needs it. I'm like, who's the client? They said, it's Google's holiday party in New York City with like 1,200 people, or maybe it's 1,500. They rented out the entire New York City library. I said, I'll have ours right away. It's like, okay, cool. So that was the first time. They wanted 11 people with 11 iPads, all checking in guests. And basically I created this company called Check-in Easy. It was an iPad check-in app. But this first event, I've never used the thing before. It was like crazy. They wanted 11 people. This is outdoors. This is when Wi-Fi wasn't even great outdoors. And so that was like the first event, and it was great. And then the next day I got calls from the Guggenheim Museum and, all these like top event players in New York City that use this at this Google holiday party. And I always tell the story that, when I was training the volunteers doing the iPad, I said, look, they wanted to do boarding passes, just like you get on a plane where they scan. They wanted to do scan too. I was like, look, you hold the iPad over their thing and you just go like beep, and you're like, okay, thank you very much. Like, I don't care if the thing worked or didn't. Like, you just make it look like it worked and just let them in. So anyway, that was a fun event, and I remember going ahead. I was like, I'm gonna have a video person come to this event and just video it because I would end up using that content, and that video was like a crusher and helped us. So that was a long story, but from that then I stopped doing really the charity side and really building this check-in app called Check-in Easy. Ended up selling it to a San Francisco company that does more enterprise event software, kind of like Cvent, but it's called Certain Software out in San Francisco. And they didn't have this tool, and we could just just latch right on to what they were doing. Ended up working for them for a little bit, and then kind of while I was working for them, I had this other idea, which was a text marketing app, which I still own and does well. It's called Member Text. Allows you to text, a bunch of people at one time. Hey, we have a frost delay on the golf course or something. But you could see I'm kind of a not always coming up with ideas, and every year I'll come up with something. And of course, you're only hearing about the ones that win, where I've got 50 ideas that you didn't. And I had this idea always, even when I was living in New York, where it's wearing what I'm wearing right now, right? It's a quarter zip with a dress shirt underneath it. Always like the look. It's like the Midtown uniform. It's like the private equity uniform for guys. And I hated wearing a long sleeve dress shirt. I just found it really uncomfortable. The sleeves get hot. It's scratchy. The sleeves always kind of like get bunched up by the elbow, and I'm pulling it down. I'm like, you know what? There needs to be like a shirt or like a polo, but the top has like a really firm collar. So it gives you that same look. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. My wife's like, you're nuts. This is crazy. So I made 300 just white English spreads. Now we actually have 4 different collar styles, but we made this like traditional white shirt. And my 7-year-old daughter was like, Dad, you got to do a TikTok video. So I'm like, all right. And I built the website myself. All the pictures were me on there. Just learning it on the way. I didn't know anything about Shopify. And then, yeah, she does this video of me, and I'm like in my closet. I'm like, guys, don't you wear dress shirts? They suck. They're hot. Check out one of these dress collar polos. And then we sat down to watch TV that night. And like on Shopify, when you get a sale, it goes like ka-ching. And we were sitting there, and the phone like rang with ka-ching. And I was like, oh my God, somebody bought this thing. Anyway, the first month we did 40,000 in sales. So it was, a wild start. And then from there, now we're 3 years into it, almost 4 years. We went on Shark Tank twice. Mark Cuban invested along with Peter Jones, and who's a billionaire in the UK. He's on the UK version of Shark Tank. And it's just been a wild ride. So now really we started as a polo company, but then we've really grown. I mean, we're on our 3rd warehouse. We've gone from really polo company to now we have blazers and sweaters, a full knitwear line, which is incredible. Short sleeve knitwear, kind of bringing that a little bit of an Italian style. And it's just been crazy and good and fun and stressful, all things put together. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. That was a long intro. Oh, but it gives you a sense of like, constantly thinking about stuff and, obsessed with it and obsessed with learning about new things and enjoying that part of it.
100%. Yeah, it's funny going back to your story. You said y'all got the Wall Street Journal at your house. Our house was not as financially savvy. We got the TV Guide, and that's why I was raised as a latchkey kid. And I'm, I always throw on this term latchkey leadership. That everything I learned about leadership was from the movies, and I put that out there. And then you also talked about going to these nonprofit things. It costs a little more or whatever. But Go Heroes that runs this podcast, we're a nonprofit, so we're always promoting the same thing. Like, hey, come to our event. Yeah, you're going to pay a little more than you would normally, but you're going to get a lot more. Like, we're about to do a clay shoot, and it's $250 a head. And people say, well, I can go clay shoot by myself for less than that. I'm like, yeah, but you're getting breakfast, lunch, cart, everything, right. all included. It's all inclusive.
And the connections. It's all about the connections. It's networking. That's everything, right? I mean, just it goes back to the getting that Google thing. Like, I wouldn't have gotten the thing started. I wouldn't have created Check-in Easy. Wouldn't have started if it didn't create that relationship with that event planner that got the Google account. Well,
Well, and that goes to another point of, going fast and breaking things. Like, you had to hurry up and do it because you had an event coming up. So I think a lot of leaders get tied down when they're trying to make something perfect. But if you can, go fast and get it done, 80% I say is better than 100% sometimes. If you can get that rough draft out there, and then you can always tweak it later, like you guys are doing over there.
Exactly. I see that all the time when friends come to me with ideas or people come to me and they're trying to get it just perfect. I'm not going to launch it yet until it's this. I'm like, just get a minimal viable product. It doesn't even have to work. I would create a website and put a buy now button on there. See if people click the button, right? I mean, why even build the product? Just get the pictures, get a sample, build the product, say you have it. And sure, if 5 people buy it, you write them and you say, I'm so sorry, the inventory didn't come in. I'll give it to you for free as soon as it comes in. You just want to know if you can sell and if you've got a product that's exciting enough. But yeah, people get so hung up on making it perfect. There might be some insecurity in there, maybe why they do that they feel like this may never sell. And so it's got to be just perfect. So there's some in there, but if you got to push through that and try and fail fast in a way. I think that's what you said. To just see if it works. This is not your only idea. You're going to come up with 10 more ideas. Just get this one out. Let's see if it works. If it works, amazing. You'll push it, you'll scale it. If it didn't work, I'd be on to the next one. If nobody bought these shirts, I'd be on to something else. This just worked and it kind of hits in my wheelhouse and is exciting for me. But yeah, no, you gotta grind and give things a try. And
so the TikTok deal, is that what launched you guys, or did you use social media differently after that to, leverage, buying power?
So I think the TikTok organic, and this was 3 years ago. So TikTok was a little bit different. It was much easier to scale, much easier to get views. Now it's much more difficult. But the cool thing about TikTok versus Instagram is TikTok is very much a discovery app. If you've got good content and a good video, it's going to get discovered. Whereas, Instagram's trying more now, but it's really like how many followers you have. And, if you were a celebrity, you pretty much guarantee you put a post out there and it got views. Now, not so much. But yeah, I mean, once I saw getting some traction on TikTok organic, even making sales from it, I was like, we have to invest in this thing. And so I start creating ads and videos and really pumping this thing out. And then, starting with paid social. And now our paid social is up to almost $1 million a month in it. But yeah, we started small and you scale and you say, okay, I'm going to do $50 a day, $100 a day and see what happens. And then you just keep ramping this thing up.
Awesome. So what advice would you give for new entrepreneurs here coming into the new year? We're early in the new year of 2025, but what would be one piece of advice you'd give to them?
I guess something like we talked about before. I mean, gosh, it's the stick-to-itiveness. It's interesting. My wife's she's creating a women's dress brand. She sees me doing it. So, oh, that looks pretty easy. I think I can just, and, I think there's something as I've been kind of like walking her through the steps on, okay, here's what you have to do. You got to create a Shopify site and you got to get on social media. She's like, I don't know how to do like edit the videos. And you kind of have to have this excitement for learning and learning new things and learning how to do things and kind of doing the hard things. I think that's been the pieces of success, like in our office. It's like, we don't know how to do it, but we're going to go learn and try and figure it out how to do it. Or find somebody that could teach us how to do it. So I think that's like a big piece is when you hit a roadblock is to kind of push through that. I think also, it's like doing the hard stuff is no fun. And I think it's, entrepreneurs are successful. They kind of push through it. Think about like a marathoner or like the best marathoner in the world runs every day. It rains outside. They don't want to run in the rain, but they do it anyway. And so there's that like kind of piece of it where you just kind of have to push through that hard stuff. Gosh, I don't know how to get my domain set up with my Shopify site. I'm like, that could be really daunting. It's like, I don't know, you got to figure it out. You got to go on YouTube. You got to type in, how do I connect my Shopify site to a domain? This is like a really small concept, but it's like that kind of stuff. And really being excited to like learn new things. And I don't want to be trite and say like, you got to keep going and being like stick-to-itiveness, but it is true. And I think you can't be afraid to fail and be afraid to put yourself out there. Like my early videos, like I was going back to my wife, like she doesn't want to put herself in the videos. I'm like, you know what? I didn't care. I look like an idiot. I look like an idiot to all my friends. I had this idea and this vision and I was going to get there no matter what. We'll laugh. We'll see who's laughing last. And so, I think there's a piece to that, you just have to not care. You're okay with losing. You're okay with hearing no. Some people really do not want to hear a no. And if they hear a no, it's it. Whereas, if I had this vision and I knew there was a chance, I knew there was a market out there for it. I didn't care if you didn't like the idea. I was going to keep pushing through it. Now, at some point, you have to see the signs, right? If you're not getting revenue, if you can't make revenue in the first 60 days or something, probably something's wrong or that channel's wrong.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's being okay with, hearing no, hearing it's a bad idea. Also selling. I think that's so crucial. We have interns here all the time. I said, the best thing you could learn how to do is pick up the phone, speak to somebody you've never spoken to before, and tell them your idea. Tell them why you're calling, and try and get something that is just so vital with every single business I've ever been in. Is I didn't care. Like, we'll have an idea here. I'm like, all right, let's go call them. Let's cold call them in. Like, that's how I grew MemberText. Just cold calling, pitching ideas is so important. Not being afraid is huge.
Yeah, I think that's my weak point is selling. I some reason just can't get things across the way I want to. So that we kind of talked about changing direction. So let's talk about pivoting. You said you've been sharing your success stories. What are some things you've had to pivot and change as you've moved forward?
Well, for this business, we're always constantly coming up with new product ideas. If we want to grow, there's only so much money we can advertise for polo shirts. So we knew we had to come up with a new product. So we came up with this blazer, which is an awesome travel blazer. You can ball it up into a ball and pull it out, and there's no wrinkles. It's killer. It's got stretch, got some cool features in there. So we knew we have to pivot a little bit and come up with new products. Back to my charity happenings days with the calendar. It's like, I was like, I wasn't seeing enough momentum, or wasn't really seeing the money coming in. We were making a little bit, but that business turned into Check and Easy. And then that's the one that grew. And you see that all the time, especially in Silicon Valley. Like, these guys even the investors know, like, hey, they're investing in this, but they know it's probably going to pivot out to something else. And it's like listening to your customers, hearing what they want, and trying to give it to them.
Awesome. So Justin, how can people reach out to your company or find your company?
Yeah, go to collarsandco.com, collarsandco.com, collarsandco.com. Awesome polo shirts, sweaters, knitwear, these blazers. You got to check them out. They're incredible. This new, it's called our Maverick Performance Blazer. We're coming up with new things all the time. We've got shoes coming out, so you'll start seeing us try things, and if they don't work, we won't be scaling them out, but the products are great. And we have over 400,000 customers now, and we sold our millionth polo shirt in the fall, which is pretty cool. So check them out. They're polo shirts. They've got firm collars, you look sharp. It's like office approved vibe, kind of elevated casual. So yeah, check them out, collarsandco.com.
Awesome. Justin, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, this episode of the Leadership Loading Podcast was brought to you by Go Heroes Inc., goheroes.org. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go ahead and check out our website or email us, and we'll get you all the information you need.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership inspired.